Welcome back to the Fertility with Jaya podcast. If you're new here, I'm Jaya, a natural fertility expert with a master's in reproductive medicine. I blend natural and medical approaches to help you find answers, especially if your fertility journey has felt complex or confusing. Each episode is here to help you understand your body, your options, and your best next steps. Today I want to talk about something that comes up all the time. How long should you try to get pregnant naturally before seeking more help or jumping into IVF? After 15 years of working with couples trying to conceive, I can tell you this is never a straightforward answer, and I know that not knowing what's ahead can make the journey feel like you're stuck in limbo, powerless with endless waiting. So in this episode, I want to give you clarity. I'll walk you through when to get further help, what you can do first, and when it's important to go straight to a fertility specialist. Let's start with your age and the medical guidelines. In Australia and globally, this is pretty consistent. If you're under 35 years old, the recommendation is to try naturally for 12 months before seeking help. If you're 35 years or older, this shortens to 6 months. In my practice, I generally stick to these timelines with some important exceptions. You don't have to wait. That's one of the biggest mistakes I see people make because this time is precious. There's so much you can be doing naturally to support your ability to conceive before seeing a fertility specialist. So you don't need to be doing anything passively, that's what I mean, and just waiting. And there are some situations where you really shouldn't wait, and I'll explain why a bit later. The other exception I make is when I see a couple who's been trying for a while, longer than that time frame, but they have nutritional deficiency and hormonal challenges that need to be sorted out before doing IVF or starting IVF again. Let's talk about what you can do before considering IVF. I call this your 90-day preparation window or preconception window. Before jumping into IVF, your body needs time to correct nutritional deficiencies, balance hormones, reduce inflammation, and prepare for pregnancy in a real and lasting way. This is generally 3 months or 6 months if your health picture is more complex. Here's the thing, 95% of my clients need this kind of preconception work, and around 80% of them think they've already done it. They'll tell me that they've had all the tests and everything looks normal, but when we dig a little bit deeper, for using a functional medicine lens, we often find gaps, suboptimal results, and root causes that haven't been addressed. This is really important for those unexplained infertility cases. I do functional testing with every client because it gives clarity. Instead of the blanket, everything is normal, they finally have a plan and some answers. Because unexplained infertility is rarely unexplained, and that testing is a huge part of how you navigate your 90 days of preconception care. Now, I'm not saying that one approach is better than the other. I truly believe that the best outcomes happen when natural and conventional medicine work together. That's how we shorten your journey and reduce the number of cycles it takes to complete your family. And preconception care, it's not just about taking a prenatal. That's why I created a 7-step framework to guide my clients through this without the overwhelm. Let me walk you through it briefly. I'll break these down in more depth into separate episodes. My 7-step framework is this. 1, track. You need to understand your cycle, identify ovulation, and check how long your luteal phase is. That's between ovulation and your next cycle, because you want to rule out a timing issue first and foremost. Number 2, test. Do comprehensive functional testing and know where your problems are from the beginning. The basic blood tests you're doing with your GP aren't enough. Number 3 is supplement. I base supplement plans on blood test results. I'm a big believer in taking what you need, not everything. But you do want to make sure that what you're taking is good quality from a good quality brand and that you're having a therapeutic dose of that ingredient that you need. So I often see people are taking the right supplements, but they're not taking enough of a therapeutic dose to make a difference to their fertility. Number 4 is him. I could talk about male fertility all day, but I'll just say this right now. His health is just as important as yours. He needs more than just a sperm test. He needs full comprehensive testing and 90 days of preconception care as well. That includes his lifestyle and his diet and everything else. Number 5 is fuel. This is what you're eating, your nutrition. I know personally that if I'm not eating with intention, I don't eat enough protein or fiber. I want way too much sugar, and honestly, it's just so easy to kid myself that I'm doing a pretty good job. I cover this in my 5-day mini course. I have a whole podcast episode dedicated to nutrition and what I see makes a difference in fertility. It's worth a listen if you're interested in what you should be eating and want to do it in a balanced way so that you can still feel like you. I also discuss the biggest mistakes I see women make in their diet that is having a huge impact on their fertility. Number 6 is restore. This is your stress and your nervous system. This part is totally underestimated, and I get why. Being told that you need to relax or be positive is the most useless advice. How are you supposed to do that when you feel so much rage and sadness inside? What you need is a strategy that is actually useful, that can help your body feel safe again and get you out of living in fight-flight mode, which is where most of us are living. I do talk about this strategy in the Fertility Reset. I created this as a 5-day podcast drop because I wanted to package up this important preconception care into a package that's easy to digest and get through. I'll put a link in if you're interested. And lastly, step 7 is decide. This is your fertility roadmap. Who's on your team? What's your next best step? This is where you take aligned action. If you've genuinely worked through those first 6 steps and you still aren't conceiving, that's where I recommend seeking more help. I've seen so many couples after failed IVF cycles where the real issue was that they went in too soon, and honestly, that's not their fault. No one told them what else they could do first. And just to be clear, IVF might not be your only next step. Sometimes a tweak in timing, a short round of ovulation induction, or a tube flush is the very thing that you'll need to get over the line and get that positive test, especially when your foundations are solid and you've done this preconception work. So that is an overview of what you really need to focus on in preconception care. And as you can see, it includes both you and your partner as a whole, body and mind, not just a single supplement. Okay, let's talk about when to get help sooner. If you have a known diagnosis or a red flag such as irregular cycles, you don't know when you're ovulating, you think you've got endometriosis, or you've been diagnosed with endometriosis, you have diminished ovarian reserve, you have thyroid dysfunction, or you have PCOS, please don't wait. Even if you're under 35, the try for 12 months guideline doesn't apply if you already know that something's not right. The same goes for your partner. Get a sperm test earlier than you think. If there's an issue with quality, you've got time to work on it. But if there's no sperm, it's called azoospermia, you'll want to see a specialist referral straight away to explore your options. So just remember that knowledge is power and you don't have to wait. And with some of these conditions, you can absolutely start with natural strategies. Just know that integrating that medical care down the line or earlier than you think doesn't mean that you failed. And it doesn't mean that the natural therapies didn't work. I've worked in fertility long enough to know that the magic happens when natural and conventional medicine come together and work together. After 15 years in fertility, I've seen time and time again that when you do the preconception care and you tick off all those steps that I mentioned, that the medical treatment works better. You get more embryos, you get better implantation, or you don't need IVF at all. So make sure you're not skipping that part. Got a few final thoughts as well. You need to trust your gut. If something feels off, even if your GP says just wait, you're allowed to ask for more. Don't forget about your partner. Male fertility is 50% of the story and it's often overlooked. He needs preparation too, even if everything looks good in a sperm test. Because poor sperm quality can lead to failed fertilization and miscarriage even with IVF, but we need to know what's happening at a DNA level, and a lot of that is influenced by lifestyle. And lastly, IVF isn't the only step. There are other paths that come along with seeing a fertility specialist. IUI, ovulation induction, letrozole, they might be the thing that works for you, and it doesn't mean that you're going to be in a full cycle of IVF. And most importantly, you deserve support before you hit burnout or before you hit emotional breakdown. If you're curious about the Fertility Reset, my 5-day mini course that walks you through these foundations, it has a workbook for each day to support you as well. I'll put a link in the notes for you. And if this episode helped you, I'd love it if you hit follow, left a review, or shared it with someone who might need a little clarity too. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.